And
no, ma'am, we're not talking about those. We're not talking about the innocent thing. We're talking about when you know you're saying something low and dirty just to hurt him.
Right.
Okay, then you're doing it to hurt.
Right.
All right. So you're intentionally inflicting damage on your man. And if he were to turn around and physically inflict damage on him, the society would blame him and say he shouldn't do it. But you could be verbally violent with your child's father.
Right, which I agree. I don't want to be that way. I don't think that's...
Today, think just because they can give birth, that's enough.
Hello.
Hey, you need to turn the TV down.
Can you turn the TV down? Sorry about that.
Okay.
I would just...
Hold on.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. How old are you?
I'm 27.
Okay. There's too much noise in the background.
Oh, sorry. I have like my daughter watching TV and my fiance watching TV.
Okay. Oh, let me say something. Gentlemen, every time men start speaking and saying what's going on, here comes the shame, insults, guilt, and need to be right. You're bitter, you're angry, you're this, you're that. That just means that women don't have any answers. That's why they start with the sign language. Pay no attention. All right. That's a lot of noise. What do you have going on? What's the question you have?
Sorry, I went to another room.
Okay. Go ahead.
Hello.
Okay, so guys, understand that the sign language starts when women run out of arguments. That means you won. Go ahead. We'll talk about modern women. Are they ready to be wives or just ready to be side chicks at best?
I would say a lot of women in this society are ready to be side chicks more than wives. I feel like they feel like the benefits are easier to reap than being through a struggle or in an actual committed and serious situation or structure. Maybe a lot of them haven't had any structure or maybe male role models or a male opinion on...
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. Do you think the average modern woman is taking life seriously?
No. Definitely not at the degree of City Girls and Hot Girl Summer. I don't think
that's what it really comes. That's because it comes down to. How old is your child?
She's 6.
Okay, so before a child and after a child are two different things.
Yes.
You have to take life a hell of a lot more seriously when you're responsible for the life of somebody else.
Definitely.
So okay. Go ahead. I don't want to. You only got a few minutes. You have a question you want to ask me because I've already asked the question.
Yes, I do. I actually am in a relationship with my child's father and have been for 8 years. I definitely have a father figure. He raised me. My mother was in and out of my life. So just trying to hone in the maturity level of the male's perspective on how...
What do you want as an outcome with your man?
I would like to be married. Well, we're on our way. We've been engaged for 2 years.
How many children does he have?
We both share one.
Okay. And how old is he?
He's 29.
And you're how old again?
27.
So what's the hold up on marriage?
He says my attitude and the way that I speak, I would say.
Oh, wow. 27-year-old with a 29-year-old. She's been dating him since she was, 19 years old? I guess she said 8 years. They got a 6-year-old together. She said engaged for 2. And he's not going to marry you because of your attitude, but he still is getting the buns, and has been getting the buns since you were 19. And you guys are together. So you're seeking advice from Kevin to find out, from a man's perspective of why he isn't marrying you and what should you do at this point. I'm interested to see where this goes, and I'm glad Kevin asked for how old this guy was, You know, and the fact that he's telling you he's not gonna marry you, but he's still with you and getting the buns, and he's already taken 8 years of your life at this point. So you want to be married, but you guys got something good going on, but you want that ring, and he's dangling it above your head.
Towards men, which I agree. I feel like seeing my mother, kind of the way she talks to my father, even now they're not together and it's been 20 years, I do see a lot of resemblance in the respect factor.
So you disrespect your child's father?
In arguments, yes. And out of anger. Not necessarily to disrespect him, like...
Okay, so...
As a man.
Well, yeah.
It doesn't, and this is what women fail to realize. It doesn't matter what your intent. Your intent is to hurt him in an argument, in a moment, but you're disrespecting him regardless. You can't just say your intent. You're disrespecting him, and he's putting up with it by staying with your ass too. So,
So yeah, how you fight says a lot.
Yeah.
Yes.
So he's been with you for 8 years, and you have a child. If he was taken away from you tomorrow in a car accident, you think you could operate like that with another man and him marry you?
No.
Okay. So if you got a man that's with you, either you act like you need to act, or you run the risk of losing him.
Yep.
Yes, and that's my question is to get into the mindset of not, well, I don't want to say like submit, like how feminists or whatever use that word, but like submit more, and so like having a male like leadership and me taking the backseat and not trying to be the leader. If that makes
Why are you trying? You want to know what I think or what he thinks?
know what you think, like what
okay, ma'am, you listen to your man.
Right, of course.
Okay, because I'm not going to overstep my boundaries. That is your child's father, and he's been with you 8 years. He told you what he wants.
Right.
Here's what you do. You do it.
Right.
You don't need me to come. You don't need me, Jesus, the pastor, to tell you something else when you got a man who's there by you.
Right.
That's disrespectful by itself. Why don't you just give the man what he wants?
Even if I feel as though I am,
I think her issue is it's too late in the game. She's been with him for so long. She's been disrespecting him for too long. He's been putting up with it for so long. She's become comfortable with doing it, which a lot of you guys are in relationships now with people like this, where you just been doing it for so long. It's become the norm until that person is no longer in your life, and you do come across someone who does value themselves and values their well-being, their mental, and they're not going to deal with you just disrespecting them or starting arguments or just being petty, just in general. But in this case, he may feel like he owes her something by staying with her because of the kid, or he may feel like he can't get anybody else.
that not suffice.
If I asked him, are you giving him what he wants? What would he say?
I would hope yes.
Okay, if you're saying the hold up on marriage is the way you act towards him disrespectfully, right?
Yes.
Then you're not giving him what he wants.
Right.
See, what it comes down to is this rebellious spirit in you females.
Right.
You want to give him what you think he deserves. And if he were to up and leave you, then you'd be on my show talking about how your baby daddy left.
Right.
The man told you what he wants. Either you give it to him or you leave him alone and let him go get a woman that's going to give him what he wants. I'm not one for breaking up families, but you're just being outright rebellious.
Right. I would agree to being.
So I gotta ask a hard question then.
Okay.
Ready?
Yes.
If you lose him, you think you're gonna do better?
Definitely not.
Then why don't you act like that?
Yeah, I definitely.
Women don't see that. They don't. I think they'll say that, but they'll know in the back of their mind they won't do better a lot of times. They'll say that there's always another man that'll pound those cheeks and hit that ass at the end of the day. But in terms of someone who's gonna put up with this shit, as far as do better, nah, man, it's getting too late in the game for that. But they still treat men in a certain way, as if there's 100 of them around the corner that'll do the same thing that this guy's doing. And women tend to find out the hard way.
We want to do that. I do.
There's no want to, man. There's no reason to not respectfully cooperate.
Right.
You've been around here for 8 years. This is about you, your ego, and your attitude. It ain't about how you were raised, everything else. Sounds like he's made it too easy for you.
Facts.
And you've lost respect for him.
Yep.
And when I hear women,
No.
if you respect him, you wouldn't open your mouth and say what you say in an argument.
Exactly.
Right. I agree with that part.
Then how you gonna say you respect him?
No, I mean, it's just like things are said like in the heat of the moment, not necessarily like that's how I treat.
Women don't have that filter. It takes a strong, solid woman to have that filter. And that's the type of woman you fellas need to be with. Not somebody that in the heat of an argument will try to say the worst thing. Because like I always say, it's in a woman's nature to try and hurt your feelings. If a man adopts that trait, he's feminine. If a man trying to hurt a woman's feelings intentionally, that's what women do. Which is she's disrespecting you by doing that. So if she has no respect for you, she'll do and say whatever.
Him throughout the
Ma'am.
Yes.
When these arguments start, come on, hold the phone up. Your face is too low. When these arguments start, see, you fight dirty. And what I'm hearing is you talk to your man like a woman.
No.
Oh yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Because if you talk to him like you should talk to a man, you should know from a safety standpoint that you need to keep your mouth closed.
Yeah.
See, when two men are talking, there's a low-level threat of violence. If I'm sitting here talking to a man, I know their lines. I can't cross certain lines with any man. I don't care how big or small he is. After a certain line, we're going to have to shoot the fair one. But
Right.
you will go damn well low because you know good and well he ain't going to do nothing.
Right.
Because if you talk the way if you argue with him, if you argue with a woman the way you argue with him, would you and that woman end up in a conflict?
Possibly.
Come on.
I feel like it depends. Like it's not necessarily like always like a threat or aggressive. It's just maybe the way I say certain things or pertaining to certain situations. Like it may not be in his perspective. And
No, ma'am, we're not talking about those. We're not talking about the innocent thing. We're talking about when you know you're saying something low and dirty just to hurt him.
Right.
Okay, then you're doing it to hurt.
Right.
All right. So you're intentionally inflicting damage on your man.
Mm-hmm.
And if he were to turn around and physically inflict damage on him, the society would blame him and say he shouldn't do it. But you could be verbally violent with your child's father.
Right. Which I agree. I don't want to be that way. I don't think that's.
Then have you had any therapy?
I have.
It's too late to change. I'm a firm believer. People do change, but in her case, I just think that it's going on for too long. And I just think that her trying to change at this point, it wouldn't really make too much sense, because she's still going to see him in this aspect. She saw him in this aspect for too long. She's gotten used to it and gotten her ways. She's trained him, in this way, and he's basically trained her in how to treat him, which is to dog him out and say anything in the heat of the moment to upset him.
And
And that's not love, folks.
It was more like church based though, so I don't.
And that's not therapy.
Yeah.
Ma'am, here's the thing. I think you take your man for granted. I think that if you've been with him so long, you ain't been out here. I'm not really an advocate for families breaking up, but I bet you if he left you and got him another woman and you had to figure it out for this year, I bet you found a way to control your mouth and get under control. You know what this man wants. You know what he wants.
Yes.
Then give it to him or risk losing him. See, gentlemen, this is why you don't ever let your women this is why we should never let our women get comfortable. Because this is what happens. They start to end up, inevitably, the disrespect happens. Never. Women test for strength. And so many men are trying to be the nice guy, and we're getting bit.
AKA those shit tests. You can't let it slide at all. Once that disrespect comes in, she's testing your strength of what she can get away with. And you shut that issue down. You never should, as I say on so many videos I've done, you never put your hands on a woman. You beat a woman with your mind, or you beat a woman with your absence. That's how you do it. You don't sit there and go back and forth or let her insult you to this point.
Well, I definitely don't want to bitch him. That's not what I.
Well, when was the last time you guys had an argument that you got did you talk dirty or foul?
Well, not necessarily talking dirty, but like I wasn't listening. He was trying to like calm me down because I was in another altercation with another person, and he was just kind of saying
a physical altercation.
No, just a verbal.
Who was this person?
Another female.
Well, was it a coworker or something?
No, just a friend. Like we just wasn't seeing eye to eye on a particular situation, and it got to the point where disrespect was being thrown. So of course,
between you and this other woman.
Yes.
Were you guys in person?
Yes. And
was this person at your house? Was this person at your house?
Yes.
Why didn't you tell her to leave your house?
I did.
Okay. And why didn't she leave your house?
I mean, she did. Eventually, she was like gathering her things and like leaving. But in the middle of me telling her to leave, that's when words were being exchanged, and he was trying to calm me down.
See the way I'm that's that man's counsel. Mm-hmm. And your female friend is bringing chaos into his castle.
Right.
Your job is to make sure his castle stays chaos free. Not to get your point across and get your shit straightened out with your girl.
Right.
That was disrespectful to him, and he's out of his alignment trying to calm you down when your first priority should have been, you can't raise your voice in my man's house.
Right.
That's not going to work. And if she got something to say, you down 911.
Right. I agree.
But that's not what happened. You was arguing with her, and he's over here trying to save it. This is why, gentlemen, perfect example. We're all out of alignment. You sound like the man in the relationship.
No. I definitely don't.
Why is...
Bruh should have been like, get the fuck out of my house right now. Or it shouldn't even be no talking. Let's go ahead and extract you from the home and shut the door. Baby, relax. Let's get a drink. Let's talk about it. Let's get all your feelings out there. And let's make love. It's just that easy, right? Do it.
Why is this woman arguing in your man's house? Why are you arguing with a woman in your man's house?
You're right.
Thank you.
I mean, I was the one that was like trying to get
He's trying to calm you down like a wife would try to calm her husband down.
Right. I see you.
Gender roles are blurred. But at the end of the day, sound like you got a guy who's trying to work with you. Maybe you need to
For her to even come on Kevin shows how she feels about the dude. That she just like you confused about him because it's like he's putting up with this shit. You're in your masculine. He's acting feminine. He don't know how to basically other than tell you this is what I want. You're not listening and he's still sticking around. Which basically confirms how you're talking to him. Bruh.
Do what I suggest doing and cut off your single friends. Get you some actual counseling and therapy. Get you some couples counseling and start off and go down to the justice of the peace. Get married, move to a different city and live your life with your family because all this is chaotic.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, you're moving and acting in life as if this man ain't going to leave. Everybody got a breaking point.
I agree.
Think about it. Think about it. Have a good day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So, y'all, look, what I was saying is, ultimately, you couldn't raise your house in you couldn't raise your voice in my grandfather's house. My grandmother would not, her friends couldn't come over to her house and making all that noise. She'd be like, y'all got to, you can't be, because this house is supposed to be peaceful. But see, that requires a woman who's thinking about her man.
Right.
And there's so many lessons in that one.
Yeah.
So many lessons.
Right.
So juxtapose that with the previous feminist who's, that one. I'm cut up, slice that stuff. I want everybody to understand. I want all you ladies to understand. Y'all sound angry. Y'all sound better. You got no idea. This is what men are dealing with. And see, here's the problem. So many women don't know or don't really actually see what the men are dealing with. So when the first time they see it, it's like, oh, shut up. Because this is just a microcosm. Entitlement. Guys, we run afoul in error when we just try to keep saving women and keep trying to make them happy all the time. There need to be standards and boundaries. And she can't deal with your boundaries and can't live up to your standards. You need to take your presence away from her. You have to raise your value.
What did I say, bros? You remove your presence. And this goes both ways, men and women. You remove your presence, man. If they can't get with your program and you're being the best person, you're being kind, loving, caring, thoughtful, supportive, motivating, and they still can't help but hit below the belt and terrorize you and agitate you, where'd you go?
To where you don't subject yourself to such treatment. Because if you allow it, it's going to continue. I've been there. I'm not telling you something I have not done. I won't do it again.
Right.
So get it, guys. And like I say, if you're having these conversations out and about in your real life, understand something, that when the women in your vicinity start to use sign language, shame, insults, guilt, the need to be right, understand something. They just gave you a first place trophy. They just admitted they lost. They have nothing to say. They're out of answers. That is a tactic to get you to stop talking, move on, or to just kill things. That's an admission.